Discovery. Hello. For centuries we continue to be captivated by the wonders that rustle land's icy glaciers of Antarctica. As last unexplored wilderness of the world, Antarctica is surrounded by mystery, and as a land of extremes, he also kept his passionate secrets of discovery and discovery mysteries, and therefore satisfy your cultural end. We gathered today, 13 of the most amazing discoveries, rustle the great white continent. The Elasmosaurus. Let's start with one of the greatest archaeological marvels, heavy in terms of weight and discovery. The Elasmosaurus, the skeleton, the heaviest ever discovered of an ancient sea monster, was unearthed in Antarctica. I hold out a new light about Elasmosaurus, a type of reptile giant sailor, who swam in the oceans alongside the dinosaurs. There are more 66 million years ago. The Elasmosaurus of 15 tons is proof that a marine ecosystem existed just before the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. He was first discovered in 1989 by Dr. William Zinsmeister, professor of the Pure University of the Indiana. Not having the resources needed to unearth the fossil informed the Argentine Tactical Institute of the discovery, but the size of the beast and its rocky bed made impossible to extract the remains a single expedition to the paleontologist South American. Moreover, the excavations, which could only be carried out in January and February during the Antarctic summer, did not take place in some years due to weather conditions and limited resources. It is only in 2017 that the researchers finally managed to extricate the skeleton, almost full of the massive creature, and started a detailed analysis. This is not the first time that paleontologists discover fossils from the air dinosaurs in Antarctica. Previous discoveries include the first bones of pleasure, remains of duck-billed ladrosaur, and even evidence of ancient trees, dating 100 million years old, a giant hole. In 2017 a giant hole appeared in the Antarctic ice. It measured initially about 5,013,638 square meters in 6 weeks. He had reaches an area almost as larger than the state of Kansas in United States. The Weddell Polynya is a irregular area of olive surrounded by sea ice in the Shid, in the ocean austral that surrounds Antarctica. This anomaly appeared each winter between 1974 and 1976. Before disappearing in the solid ice, apparently for always, but NASA scientists were stunned when the Observatory of the Earth detected again 4 decades later. We thought this known large hole in the sea ice under the name of polygamy was something rare, perhaps a process that had died out, but the events of 2016 and 2017 forced us to reassess this, to declare the main author Ethan Campbell, PhD student in oceanography at the University of Washington. Observations show that the polyness recent ones have opened from a combination of factors, one being the unusual ocean conditions, and the other being a series of very intense that swirled above of Weddell's mother, with winds from the hurricane force. Almost what has actually caused its reopening remains a mystery until today. The face of an extraterrestrial. The mysteries of Antarctica will take at this point a more serious time, especially when we will talk about extraterrestrials. An account notorious Instagram went live in 2019. A strange sequence showing a bizarre anomaly on the snow of Antarctica. Snow in sight seems have the shape of eyes, a nose, and a writhing in a grimace. Terrifying. This strange image has aroused to a veritable frenzy on internet, some claiming that it is evidence of a hidden civilization. Conspiracy theorists have long claimed that an ancient civilization may be of extraterrestrial origin, lived or lives still under the Antarctic ice. Discovery is most likely the result of the sheer and Olean effect, bizarre, that causes the brain to have formed structures and patterns there where it does not exist. According to NASA, the no ridicule and the psychological phenomenon by which people see recognizable shapes in clouds, rock formations, or objects or data unrelated to each other. The others, but who knows, maybe that it really was an alien fruitcake. And yes, like you, of course, you have a fruitcake like the one in your kitchen, and also count as one of weirdest discoveries Antarctica. But how does this cake, is he so special? Will you believe that a fruitcake that Robert Scott had taken with him during his fatal expedition to the South Pole was found in excellent summer at more than 100 years later that he left there? An heirloom article. Trust based in New Zealand to find the cake in the oldest building of Antarctica, a hut at Cape Adare. The cake was wrapped in paper and in the remains of a cake pan. and the trust states that there was a very slight smell of rancid butter, but other than that the cake seemed and smelled good. According to the trust, it does no doubt that the extreme cold has helped preserve the cake for all these years. This is just one proof that the snow carries within it features and mysteries. 2 narcotics than beneficial bloody waterfall for over 100 years. A rather strange natural phenomenon. Has us all mystified. No one could understand why the blood falls in Antarctica are red. The puzzle has recently been reconstructed, thanks to University of Alaska researchers Fairbanks and Colorado College. But in case you are unaware, let's go back to the blood falls and why we have been so obsessed with her for all those years. Discovered by geologists in 1911, the blood folds are a fall of red water without 5 floors, which pour out of a glacier. In reality, when our salty blood is filled with iron, comes into contact with the air and turns red. That's how one of mysteries of Antarctica has been solved, the lowest point on the planet. Despite that Antarctica and the last uncharted wilderness of the world, she still shocks researchers with its natural records, and it isn't a major breakthrough into the depths of Antarctica that scientists Americans discovered the point of lowest Earth on the planet under the Antarctic ice cap research that is part of the new topographic map of Antarctica, allowed to determine the highest point bottom of the land below the Edmund Glacier in East Antarctica at 3,500 meters below sea level. This point is lower than the lowest point exposed on land if you're on the shore from the Dead Sea, 413 meters above from sea level according to glaciologists. Before continuing the video, don't forget to like and join our family of subscribers. If you are new on cultivation, a ship occasionally ice things mysterious and interesting. Our discoveries on Google Earth. What if you think you've seen it all? Dip yourself. One insightful Google user discovered an abnormally shaped object near Antarctica codes, triggering a flood of comments from YouTube users. If we go to 3D format, the object looks like the outline of a ship called Monsieur MBB 333, measuring more than 400 feet long. What whether it looks like an opinion, the ice ship, no matter how you want to call it, uncovered from the boat or the ice ship, has caused an internet conspiracy theory wave, some claiming it is related to a secret Nazi base in Antarctica, or that it is used to transport the leaders of the world in times of global crisis. Structure and description of the boat have been subject to comparison with many descriptions of ships lost in the ocean, but so far today, no one knows what or to whom belongs this mysterious object well surrounded by ice. The treasure of Mont Blanc, staying on what snow can we hiding, and exploring a real treasure. This time the story starts early on the 24th January 1966. While Darren Flight 101 DO begins its descent towards the airport from Geneva, the pilot had miscalculated the altitude of the aircraft, and the Boeing 707 heads straight for the top Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in France, and the 117 people on board were killed in the plane crash. And over the years, mountaineers have regularly found debris from baggage and human remains from of the plane. Among the burning debris scattered on a glacier, a small box filled with 100 sapphire emeralds and ruby pressure was projected into the air and swallowed by the ice. The box, of which 2 families claim that their name was engraved on the side, sank in the glacier to reappear 47 years later. Shake in the hands of a local climber on his way to the local gendarmerie. The gendarmes hailed the climber's decision not to keep your valuable find, estimated at €246,000. Merle, the one who discovered the treasure, brought the jewels directly to the mayor of Chamonix, stored in a safe under the hotel of the city until the media be informed. Because the story was revealed, the journalists have began to seek to know more. They even printed a photo of a guide to Stefan Dan Mountain with what seemed to be jewels in front of him. In fact, it was about stone he had ripped from ravines and sold for €20. Afterwards, many falsified stories and incorrect fact. The French national was congratulated it for its integrity for having declared the discovery 8 years ago. The Allan Hills Meteorite Ashe 84001. Whether we determined what walked from March, and which is the subject of a scientific claim controversial, that she would contain the remains of an ancient native life on the planet, recover in the Antarctic ice field in 1984. This igneous rock of 1.9 kilograms 4.2 bucks that would crystallize from of a Martian magma 4.5 billion ago years before being shocked and altered, perhaps by one or more impacts of nearby meteorites or asteroids. Later still mineral grains carbonates have been introduced into the fractures of the rock caused by the shock, are important impact to snatch the rock of the Martian surface and the solar orbit at a speed greater than the escape velocity of the planet is 5 kilometers per second, 11 miles by overtime. The orbit of the Roche has been modified in such a way that she approached the Earth to finally fall in Antarctica ago about 13,000 years old. A cave Giant Underground Antarctica does not doing very well lately. The continent are doing quickly, and much snow and ice is held back from the ocean only by a set of glaciers and platforms of ice that protects the codes. None of them is not doing well, but one of them, the Thwaite Glacier in Antarctica Western, is collapsing fast. Now scientists have learned why are they falling apart so quickly. There is a giant underground cavern in the glacier, almost as large as Manhattan. Its give come from the operation NASA's Ice Bridge, a program that flies radar-equipped aircraft above the poles to map glaciers and ice sheets in 3 dimensions. These radar images are even able to see through the ice to get a clear model of the glacier to the bedrock of information are extremely useful to scientists because the speed of melting of a glacier largely depends on what happens near bedrock. In the case of Mr. Thwaite, the radar has highlighted a gigantic cave between the glacier and itself and the bedrock. This cavern is probably filled with much more air warmer than the surrounding ice, which triggers a faster melting of the glacier. Thanks to this space of the size of Manhattan in the ice, the glacier hole and the layer of ice environment will probably disappear much faster. Lava Lake of Mount Mickle. Mount Mickle is a stratoactive volcano on Sanders Island in the South Sandwich Islands, a remote oceanic islander in the south of the Atlantic Ocean, bordering the ocean austral arc. Contains the only volcanoes British territory assets overseas from South Georgia and the southern Sandwich Islands, but little is known about their activity, although the lava lakes are extremely rare, and which are only a few examples in the world of previous analyses of satellite imagery. Had HRR from Mount Michael in the 1990s showed thermal anomalies persistent that were not associated to the dead magma of the crater. This suggested the existence of a lava lake inside the crater of Mount Michael. The researchers estimated that the lake of lava is 110 meters wide for an area of 10,000 square meters, is roughly the same surface as that covered by 8-size swimming pools Olympic, and the first time that 30 years of data from several satellites were used to analyze the lava lake of Mount Michael, declared thanks, this technique could be used to analyze other volcanoes retrospectively and for monitor in the future, in particular those who are inaccessible for reasons of policy or security localization. However, their study was based on an image LAFS at 1 kilometer resolution, and none long-term study has not been conducted for determine if it is a persistent characteristic of trees that adapt to the light. Weirdest feature and most disconcerting of the polar forests, and no doubt their adaptation to the diet light from Antarctica near the pole. Night rains all winter, while in summer the sun shines even at midnight on. Professor David Burling of the University of Sheffield, and author of Emerald and Net, explained the challenge that the one great article we last in this unusual environment. During prolonged periods of darkness, winter warm the trees consume. Does their food supply have declared if it lasts too long, it end up starving to death? Understand how trees have survived against all odds. Professor Burling studied the types of plants that once grew in Antarctica. These include trees like the ginkgo, a living fossil. These experiments have shown that trees could adapt remarkably well to this strange environment. Although they have exhausted their food supply in winter, it largely compensates by their ability to carry out photosynthesis 24 hours in the summer. The main problem seems to be that the trees didn't know when to stop. We found that trees make so much food during the summers that it ended up slowing down the photosynthesis. To explain the teacher Burling accordingly, he could not take full advantage of the long and chose to do photosynthesis. Dinosaur in the dark However, the trees were not the only ones to have to find ways to deal with unusual polar conditions. Amazing fossil finds show that the dinosaurs fed in the undergrowth. Tangled. Professor Thomas Reach of the Victoria Museum in Australia is a dinosaur hunter worldwide known responsible for the discovery of several polar dinosaurs. During the last 20 years, the meticulously searched the sites fossiliferous from southern Australia. This area was just off the coast in Antarctica. There are 100 millions of years of discoveries raise an interesting question. And did Antarctic dinosaurs migrate during the winter? Where was it adapted to the life in the dark forests of the night? Polar Professor Rich thinks know the answer. The only skeleton full of dinosaur we have found, and the Elasmosaurus. What is really unusual in this specimen? It is the skull. It indicates the animal had widened optic lobes, he explains. This suggests that the polar dinosaurs could have night vision acute and was well adapted to the prolonged darkness of short winter. Could have looked like an encounter with a polar dinosaur. Describe us a comment your vision. Let's talk dinosaur. I invite you to go in more about them and discover by the same occasion the things you don't know about them. I put you the link right there. Video has come to an end, but not the mysteries of Antarctica. Tell us comment if you want a sequel for this video, and especially also leave us this little like that makes always a pleasure and which encourages us to reveal a little more in our video. See you soon on Discovery.